Grace's Budget Garage. So I took off from Christmas through New Year's. I don't have to go back to work till January 6th. So I'm taking this little week and a half off, and I'm gonna try to get some headway done on my next little project. As you guys know, in my last video, I got this Harley golf cart. I've got it running. I've got it on the charger. The kids, they've been running this thing around town, but sorry for them. Well, fun's about over. Harley, I got an 88 Sportster 1200, and well, I got it for a good deal, more or less a trade. All right, sorry about the heater in the background. It's 7 a.m. and it's like December 30th, so it's cold today. So anyways, I got this thing, didn't run. The guy I bought it from, or traded it to, with whatever, he was suspect that the CDI box was no good. So, all right, I found on eBay for like $100, found a new CDI box, and the people that sold it, they sent it to me, and it had wires about this long. This is my old CDI box, but I had to chop the wires off my old box to hook up to the new one. Believe it or not, it's kind of hard to find all the info for an 88 Harley, which is shocking. But I got everything hooked up that was obvious, but there was one 3-wire plug that I did not have a 3-wire plug on this thing. I probably spent a week jacking around on this thing trying to find if there was some plug buried that I couldn't find. I pulled the drive side stuff off and I just couldn't find a plug. Well, it turns out I just had to wire it and run it up. Pull the gas tank off. I had to wire it and I had to run it up to the coil. And well, it turns out I just had to take those 3 wires, bunched them together to one, and ran it to the rear cylinder coil side. So great, all right. Then I got a battery, got that hooked up. It wasn't cranking at first, but I got the thing cranking. I needed to add a power from my battery to my relay panel, breaker panel, whatever you want to call it. Great, now we're cranking, but still no start. So I pulled my plugs and I got no spark. And then I noticed, I put my hand on my coil and it was hooked up and that coil was hot. So today I'm gonna leave here in just a minute, go refill my propane on my heater, and stop by the post office. Amazon doesn't deliver to out in the middle of nowhere where I live. Shocking, I'm like 50 miles from Seattle. But yeah, so go to the post office, get a new coil, hook that thing up, hope this thing starts. All right, well, trip to the post office. My post office is frustrating. My package is there, but the ladies there aren't ready to hand them out yet, apparently. So I'm not tearing the Harley apart yet. I really want to see this thing run. If the coil makes it run, fantastic. If the coil does not make it run, it's getting torn apart. I don't know, it's all Harley motor. It's gotta be like small block Chevy. Shouldn't have to be in anything to make it run, right? So, next stop. Let's make this thing less whole. All right, we got no body. That's awesome. And yeah, that's what 45 years of who knows what looks like. There's some stuff added in, horn lights, etc. I can already see here that major frame modifications are gonna happen because this thing has these big battery trays. And well, my Harley motor is gonna sit about here. So none of this is gonna work. Obviously the electric motor's gotta go. It's bolted right to the rear end. And I don't think that rear end's gonna be up to task. I thought about running the Harley motor sideways and then just hook it direct to the rear end. But you'll notice the chain drive is on the right-hand side of the motor, we'll call it. So picture that, right-hand side, motor's going this way. Whoop, go over here. If that chain drive was on the right-hand side, the motor would be out here. So that ain't gonna work, but I have a plan. Over here on my shelf, I've got a 32-inch go-kart rear end. We love Amazon because this whole setup, caliper, everything costed like 120 bucks. So I guess the next big step is finish getting this thing torn apart, get the rear end out of it, get it up on stands somehow, and yeah, then we start chopping. We set a rear end, roughly where our rear end goes. We set a motor, roughly where our motor goes. And then, yeah, we built something to make it whole again. I used to do this stuff all the time when I was in my early 20s. And, well, we're gonna do it again. Maybe I'm older and wiser. Maybe I forgot more than I ever knew. We're gonna find out. All right, before we get into the real hacking and slashing, I gotta take some measurements, wheelbase, ride height. Nothing really matters but wheelbase. And I don't even know if wheelbase matters. But I wanna know where I started. And yeah, so I'm gonna pull some measurements, write them down, save them for later, and yeah, then we get to cutting, because it's just a beam from the front to the back. That ain't gonna work. So I wanna leave, I believe, that I wanna leave this thing up here that the front of the body mounted to, the seats mounted to. I'll have to figure out the back part later, but I do want to kind of leave that there so I have the feeling that it's going to get cut off, whoop, right there at that main tube, and then I'll do some kind of bulkhead through there, and yeah, we'll put a motor in here and we'll see what we get. But before I cut all this out, I want to know where I started, so let's get to it. It doesn't have to be exact work, but I kind of want to be fairly accurate, just for the sake of, I don't know what. There's center of the front axle, center of the rear axle. Looks like just under a 69-inch wheelbase. We're going to call it 68.5 wheelbase. So jot that down. Make it look as factory as possible. I want to keep this Harley cart, Harley motor, and I want to keep it as close to Harley as possible. So, man, we're looking at 25 inches to the rear body mount. And, yep, 25 inches. Well, this thing was like a point of no return the minute I bought it, but now it's really the point of no return. This thing will never be the same again.
A few moments later.
All right, well, obviously I wasn't able to get this thing running. I'm tired of wasting effort on it. In my research for trying to find wiring diagrams and whatever, I found a ton of like new ignition systems. And I think it's just gonna be the easier way to go. These things are like a small block Chevy, allegedly. Anybody can make them run. So I think I'm just gonna, what I thought, leave the Harley a part of it. I'm gonna eliminate the Harley from it. And I mean, really it's a carbureted 2-cylinder motor. So I'm going to go ahead and strip the motor out of this guy. Thanks for watching so far, and this is where things start getting really interesting. Well, that wasn't light. But actually it wasn't as heavy as I thought. I wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to pick this up, put it on the table. Probably a stupid move. Whatever, anyways. When I was cranking this thing over, we were having a leak out of the top of here. Obviously it looks like somebody else has had a problem with this thing leaking. So I'm gonna pull this guy off here. Yeah, get that sealed up. I'm gonna deal with the, well, obviously the knowns, things like this, before it goes into a golf cart. I really just want to set it over there and kind of see what I'm in for, but I know I got to take care of this, sealing this up. Well, I popped this case cover off because I had a leak when I was cranking this thing over. Oil was spitting out pretty good. Yeah, turns out it's the cam cover, so I'll learn how to time a Harley motor today. cam cover put back together, motor's assembled, sealed, and I took and I slid this motor over kind of roughly where it goes. I mean, no, I put it like somewhere in the back where I think it's gonna roughly go. Obviously it needs to come up off the ground, but I've got out my 32-inch go-kart rear end, axle, unit bearings, disc brake, and what I'm really looking for right now is the sprocket. I'm gonna set this guy up. I wanna see what the alignment looks like, where I need to exactly put this motor. Actually, I don't think I'm gonna have to get rid of this whatever center beam frame tube. I think it's all gonna work out. So got a motor setting in here. I've got a rear axle setting in here. I kind of assembled the rear axle, needed my sprocket on there so I could line it up with my motor sprocket. I got my motor leveled up, and I've got it in line, pretty well in line. It looks like I have to turn the motor a little bit the back towards the passenger side, but it's all close enough, and I'm seeing that I have tons of clearance. Seat height wise, I think I'm gonna have to end up raising the seats up a little higher than stock, but I kind of already knew that based on basic measurements. So yeah, took my straight edge here, and we're, I don't know, you can see on the back of this the rear axle sprocket, I don't know, I'm slightly out of alignment. Honestly, it would probably be just fine. So yeah, it all worked out. I didn't have to cut out my center tube. I get to leave that, that's huge. I really didn't want to have to cut that out and do like a C-notch like I was talking about earlier in the video. But yeah, got it setting on 2x4s, which is about 3.5 inches of clearance, which is just fine with me. I'll probably put some kind of skid plate under there so I don't accidentally screw up my motor, because I don't want to have to buy another Sportster, even though they're not that much money. I don't want to buy another bike just because I did something stupid in this. So anyways, I think we're gonna wrap the video up here for this point. Kind of a teardown and a mock-up. See it from the front here. And hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.